A fiddler on the roof. Sounds crazy, no? But here, in Shushan on the Volga, you may say each and every one of us is a fiddler on the roof, just trying to scratch out a little simple tune without breaking his neck. It's not easy. You may ask, why do we stay up there if it's so dangerous? I'll tell you. We stay because Shushan is our home. And how do we keep our balance? That I can tell you in one word. Tradition! In Shushan on the Volga, we have many traditions. We have traditions for everything. How to sleep, how to eat, even how to wear clothes. We always keep our head covered, and we wear a little prayer shawl. This is how we show our dedication to God. You may ask, how did this tradition get started? I'll tell you. I don't know. But it's a tradition. And because we have been following our tradition, we have kept our balance for many, many, many years. All our traditions, because all of our traditions, each and every one of us knows who he is and what God expects him to do. Of course, in our little inner circle, there are all kinds of types and personalities. We have, for example, the Yente, the matchmaker, Reb Nachum, the beggar, and of course, our amazing, beautiful, awesome, spiritual rabbi. So wise. I remember once when Reb Levish asked the rabbi a question. He said, "Rabbi, is there a blessing for Tsar Achashverosh?" And the wise rabbi thought, a blessing for the Tsar? Of course there is a blessing for the Tsar. There is a blessing for everything. May God bless and keep the Tsar far away from us. Such a wise man. Such a wise man. Of course there is a bigger circle outside of our inner circle where they are the others. We don't bother them, and so far they don't bother us. Within our inner circle, we live together in perfect peace and harmony. Of course, there was the time when he sold a horse to him, telling him he was 6-year-old when he was really 12, but that's all in the past. And now, all our little inner circle lives happy together, following our traditions. In truth, our lives would be at risk. Our life would be as without our traditions. Our lives would be as shaky as a fiddler on the roof. Come.
Today we work to make a living, try to feed our family, finding time to pray.
We sold few rights, we are grateful for our blessings, 'cause we're safe and sound at home. In Shushan, Shushan, tradition. In Shushan, Shushan, tradition.
Way up on a hill to find another home, a palace with a great big dome.
And we have a king who really runs this town and drinks with friends until they act like clowns. A Hashverosh, Hashverosh, tradition. A Hashverosh, Hashverosh, tradition.
Now we set the scene for you.
And now we've set the scene for you, come back with us in time.
We know you'll recognize the tale sung by committee. Megillah, Megillah, tradition. Megillah, Megillah, tradition. Yadda-da-da, 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 yadda-da-da. And who is what you'll ask? Will star on this year's stage. The Spielers on the roof. We finally come of age. The Spielers, the Spielers. Tradition. The Spielers, the Spielers. Tradition. Who day and night has practiced silly singing, dance in secret places, trying to learn our words. That we said we'll share the Purim story, then it's Lamentation time. Tradition!
Yeah, we really try to learn our words. Well, like the good book says, when our people went to Shushan on the Volga, it was a promised land. And we haven't had it bad, really, since we've been here. We really have not much to complain about. On the other hand, we love to complain, so we do. But otherwise, it seems that we could really lead our lives in peace, even being part of the empire of the Tsar Ahasuerus, without being too much bothered. we celebrate our holidays. And every Shabbat, we get to light our Shabbat candles. So I'd like to invite you, my dear friend of our village, to please come forward. And if you're lighting candles tonight, to come and kindle the light of our Shabbos. Members of our village to light candles. On our left, Cam and Philip Herzog are celebrating 4 different things. Second month birthday of new granddaughter Phoebe and her mother Nori. The beginning of our new adventure in Medellin, Colombia, starting 9 days from tonight. In honor of Hannah Nerbovic for her help in selling our home, and 2 other properties in preparation for our move. And also in gratefulness for our Beit Alef community that we have been blessed to have been a part of this past 16 years. I was a little child. Next to them, we have Hannah and Gerardo Nerbovic, Ojeda Ebert, and Hannah Nerbovic, and they're lighting candles tonight in memory of their friend Marisha Zuzula, who passed away just a few days ago. Marisha was both a dear friend and a leader in the Jewish community in Warsaw, Poland. And they're also lighting candles. Hannah and Gerardo are lighting candles in gratitude to Cam and Philip Herzog for their many years of friendships and support. And they want to bless Cam and Philip as they begin their journey and new life adventure in Medellin, Colombia. I think baby cries when they see a rabbi because they think circumcision. But Phoebe shouldn't have anything to worry about. And then we have, on my right, you're going to have to raise your hand as I say your names. Lori Milligan, Ryan, Brianna, and they are all lighting in honor of Rigel? Rigel's second birthday. Mazel tov. And speaking of birthday, we have here in front of us Julia. Julia is lighting also for her birthday, her 21st. February 24th. So you're 24th. How old are you now, Julia? How old are you? 9. Mazel tov. And Rabbi Olivier is lighting tonight in memory of his grandfather on his 19th yahrzeit. And we turn to page 1 to share together the blessing of the Shabbat light. And it's traditional to cover our eyes, to remind ourselves that that which we are blessing is in fact awakening within us. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik Now, like every good Jewish story, our story begins with an orgy. The Tsar of Shushan had a very hard name to pronounce. Tsar Achashverosh. You try it. Achashverosh. Oh, yes. Da, very good. And the Tsar Achashverosh loved to throw parties. But not little, weekend parties. When the Tsar threw a party like the one we're just in the middle of, it takes about 180 days. And we, right now, are at the end of the first week only of that long orgy. And the Tsar has an idea that his, buddy around telling, why don't you get the women to dance for us? Get the women to dance for us. So the Tsar calls in his Tsarina Vashti, and asks Vashti to dance for him and his friends, all his guys' friends. With one little caveat, he tells her that she has to dance, but without any clothes on. And Vashti, as the Tsarina she is, with great pride in herself, says to the queen, and I paraphrase, "No way, Jose." But with a thick Russian accent. You can imagine that the Tsar was really upset. It says actually in our text, and I quote, "The Tsar became extremely angry. His rage consumed him." Boy. Maybe, he thought, maybe she did not trust him. And maybe this perceived lack of trust caused him to lose face in front of all his buddies, all his guests. And you can imagine, at the end of that day, when the Tsar and the Tsarina went back to the palace and got ready for the night, what kind of conversation may have taken place between them? And in fact, this is how it really happened.
Do you trust me?
Do I what?
Do you trust me?
Do I trust you?
Well,
With the feasting and the drinking, and Persia's growing large, you are lustful, unrepentant, get some rest, go recharge. Maybe it's the Viagra.
Vashti, I'm giving you an order. Don't you trust me?
You're lascivious.
I know. But do you trust me?
Do I trust you?
Well,
For 25 months I danced for you, narrowed your gaze, widened your eyes, raised your kid, milked your cow after 25 years. Why talk about trust right now?
Vashti, the first time I saw you was at the Persian club. I was lustful.
Hardly
I
shy.
wanted more.
So did
But
I.
my viziers and my mentors said we learned to share each other. So now I'm asking, Vashti, do you trust me?
I'm your wife.
I know. But do you trust me?
Do I trust him?
Well,
For 25 months I've rolled with you, watched you lie, schemed with him. For 25 months my orders are his. If that's not trust, what is?
can you trust me?
Not on your life.
Oh, then I suppose you're not my wife. It changes everything, and you should know. After 25 months, you've got to go.
Now, Vashti disappeared. But Achashverosh didn't want to be without the Tsarina. So a search was started to find him a new Tsarina, a new queen. Enter Esther and yours truly, Mordechai. My brother had a daughter. Her name was Hadassah. And my brother and his wife, Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be for blessing, died unfortunately and left the poor Hadassah orphan. So, like a good uncle, I took her in. Of course. Right? Right. Later, she changes her name to Esther when she becomes the Tsarina, but we are getting a little bit ahead of our time here. Now, I heard that Achashverosh was sending emissaries throughout the empire to find him a new Tsarina. And I thought, maybe this could be a match made in heaven, right? Right. And this is exactly how it all went down.
Ahasuerus, you now need a queen, someone with whom you can be seen. Ahasuerus, you now need a queen, may we find the one for you.
My dear advisor, find me a queen, not one too young, at least 17. Find me a woman who make me be the envy of all I see. For you will search all of Shushan, will look low and high. For me, well, I wouldn't holler if she were far richer than even I.
Women of Shushan, your king is in need. Step up and turn, you could be queen. Come to the palace in your finery and show the king everything.
Hadassah, Hadassah, I've got a match for you. It's King, the Tsar, King. Oh, no, it's Hadassah, Hadassah, I've got a match for you. He's handsome, he's young. Okay, he's 62, but he's the Tsar, right? A good catch. True? True.
But will I be happy? And if I'm not, then what? There's more to life than being queen. Don't ask me what.
Hadassah, Hadassah, you'll be a lucky bride. He's handsome, he's tall, that is from side to side, but he's a good catch, the Tsar, right? Right? You will be the savior of every Jew around. With you, queen in the palace, peace will abound.
I do not want to be squeed for the best that he can find, with no dowry, no money, and a Jewish background. On the other hand, okay, I'll be the queen.
came to congratulate me. You know, they say, a blessing on your house, mazel tov, mazel tov. Imagine such a spouse. Exactly. Exactly. But you know me. I'm not going to let Esterle now be all by herself in that palace. So I went to the gate of the palace and watched over her. Of course, at some point, I overheard a story. I overheard a plot to kill the Tsar. And I thought, what to do? I will probably need to not say anything and keep quiet and keep my head down. On the other hand, if I help the Tsar and save his life, perhaps I will be rewarded, get a position in the palace. I could be closer to Esther. And so I did. I told the securities of the Tsar that a plot to kill him was afoot, and they arrested the plotters and killed them. Killed them. And you'd imagine that I'd be thanked, promoted, made a rich man. Yet, not a thing. Another guy, Haman. He got the job. He got the promotion. And he became second in command in Shushan. And Haman, just like the Tsar, has a huge ego. And he somehow managed to get the king to decree that all in the kingdom should prostrate themselves in front of him when they see him parading in the streets. And I thought, well, maybe I should do that. But on the other hand, our tradition forbids to bow to anyone. And so I didn't. And that made Haman irate. He went back to his palace, took some lots, cast some lots. In Hebrew, lots are called Purim. He cast some Purims, and the numbers came to be 13, and he declared that on the 13th of Adar, he would take revenge on the Jews. And he went and asked the Tsar for his signet ring, that he wrote up an edict and signed and sealed the edict to kill all the Jews on the 13th of Adar with the Tsar's signet ring. The Tsar, for some unknown reason, had given Haman, had given him all of his power. We must go all around the town and expose Haman's plan. I will ask Esther to help us. Like any good Jew, she cries. She'll say, "Pardon me, Achashverosh. Help us, please, Achashverosh."
Taking big risks that would harm our very
that Jews had to be damned.
We will mess up Haman's evil plan. He is such a badass
And this is exactly how it happened. With that great big key that I had. But the decree was published. Boy. And the people of the kingdom on the day Haman had decreed were to arm themselves and kill all the Jews. Quickly the news spread through our little village. And everyone began to fast, began to wail, began to pray. Well, you can imagine. The life of the Jews in Shushan became pretty challenging and very difficult. I was really depressed. Really depressed. All the praying and all the fasting. Even Esther herself fasted for us. Those were really dark times. Really dark times. One thing that had happened when Esther became queen, I told her just, in order to make things easier, not to reveal that she was Jewish. Which is why she changed her name from Hadassah, very Jewish name, to Esther. Okay. I thought this one get better laughs. All right. You win some, you lose some. What you gonna do? But I resolved that if one person could help us and save us, it could be Esther. And so I decided to risk going to the palace by myself and find Esther. And I finally managed to squeeze myself in her antechambers and have a one-on-one conversation with her. And I told her how the situation was back in the village, how everybody was depressed and praying and fasting. But that no amount of prayer and no amount of fasting seemed to be having any effect. And I told her perhaps she could help us. She could talk to the king, ask for an audience and plead our case. I told her, what if for such a time as this, you had come to the kingdom? I told her she needed to take a stand. Even if it was risking her life, all our lives were at risks anyway. She needed to save her people. And I left her. And I know my Esther, I raised her. And I know that after I left, in the quiet solitude of her chambers, I know she thought about it long and hard. What if you threw a great big banquet?
What if he saw me when I shine?
Maybe the king would reconsider.
If he knew these people were mine. Once he discovers that I'm Jewish,
He'll see the error of his ways.
we better plan the banquet
Now, with just a few days. Hidden Jewess, bundled up with fears.
Now is the time I must read it, leading to happiness
So I went back to see the rabbi, this wise rabbi. I told him, what should we do? He said, find the answer in the silence of your heart. So, that was the plan, you know. The plan was to have Esther have a big banquet. And at that banquet to invite both the Tsar Achashverosh and Haman. She was going to reveal who she was, the truth of her being, in front of the Tsar, but also in front of Haman. She was going to tell the truth, no matter the consequences. Oy. She was going to tell about her Jewishness and confront Haman and his evil plot, hoping that the Tsar would love her enough to denounce this evil Haman and save the Jews and tell the truth. She did. Oh, it was beautiful. I wish you could have been there. She asked for the Tsar's audience. And as it is traditional, the Tsar held up his scepter that looked a little bit like a scepter. And she went and touched what looked like a scepter. Very interesting scene. And the king allowed her to speak, and she spoke her truth. And when the king heard, he couldn't believe his ears. He almost had a heart attack. He left the room, the banquet room, not knowing where he was going. He just had to leave. Haman knew something was wrong. Haman knew his time was up, and so he ran toward Esther, went on his knees, grabbed her dress, and begged her to save his life. If I had a bottle here, that would have been great. But I don't. Right when he was on his knees grabbing the queen's dress, the Tsar walks back in. Oh! He sees Haman all over his tsarina. And he says to himself, not only does he want to kill all the Jewish people in my tsarina with them, but now he's taking advantage of her. He storms through the banquet hall. Off with your head, Haman! He jails him, and he's going to use the gallows that Haman had built for Mordecai and the Jews to hang Haman instead. But don't take my word for it. Here exactly how it happens.
Okay, one more song.
You know, it didn't exactly pan out the way we think it did. Because what happened was that the Tsar said to Mordechai and to me and to Esther, he said, look, I can't reverse the decree. It has my signet ring and it is sealed. The only thing I can do is write a new decree that would state that on that day, the Jews will be able to defend themselves. And in fact, the story ends, and maybe you've never heard this one before. instead of having the Persian, the Jews went right ahead and massacred the Persians. It says in the story. One must think that this was a story that was written because so many times in Jewish history it is not the way it ended. And the Jews who wrote this story wanted to have a different kind of ending, where this time they were the ones to win the battle. I have to say, this was nothing short of a miracle. Hint, hint. This was nothing short of a miracle.
Wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles, we have performed another spiel. Sing side by side and miracle of miracles, you think it was no big deal. Wonder of wonders, miracle of miracles, some might just fear that God would frown. But on the way it did so long ago in Shushan, we have brought our 10 cups down. We watched these step on the big king's heart, that was a miracle.
Good morning, God. I doubt that you take Esther's part. That was a miracle, too.